Okay, so with village rites, we have a depiction of a man being sapped of his energy by a wooden post with some sort of animal skull attached to the top of it. So this is an occult practice that was used by the Vikings. It was a form of spiritual warfare. And what they would do is that they would have a priest say some sort of incantation and carve some runes into a wooden post, and then they would attach the skull at the top, usually a horse skull, and then they'll put this in an enemy village that is being conquered, and it would be sometimes they would use tag locks, which is explained in quantum physics as like a fingernail or a piece of hair or a piece of bone that would attach it to the totem pole, and the original owner of the biological material would be the intended victim. And quantum physics explains tag locks as something which connects the person to the object. Now, this is through biological material like hair, nails, blood, bones. They all represent, hair represents lineage, nail represents your vitality, blood represents your life force, bones represent your ancestors. Theory is that two particles connected at the beginning maintain a correlated state. So hair was once part of you, therefore it's entangled in you. This comes from Sheldrake's hypothesis, accepted fact. This is not like pseudoscience, this is mainstream. The Vikings would use something called neatstang, which is a wooden post with oftentimes a horse skull attached to the top of it. And it would sap the intended victim of vitality to fight, or it would curse them so that they would have bad luck, or it would curse their ability to procreate, their fertility, etc. Funnily enough, this is actually done today by corporations that massively produce processed foods, GMOs, etc. Kraft, the company that creates cheese, they created something which is technically not cheese. That's why they called it Kraft Singles. It is so heavily processed and full of artificial shit that the Jews, and yes, it is the Jews doing this, I have the receipts to back this up, so don't call me an anti-Semite. They created something that was not technically cheese. That's why they had to call it Kraft Singles. They couldn't call it cheese. Otherwise, they would be in legal trouble. The name Kraft comes from the word witchcraft. They just spelt it with a K instead of a C. Okay? So this idea of flaunting a horrible truth right in front of your face, if you are too stupid to not see it, it's on you. This is very prevalent in Jewish Kabbalah, mysticism. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. Back to the village rites. The knowing that someone is using sorcery against you can be enough to tip the scales in warfare, or it could actually be a form of life drain by causing stress on the village people. With the knowledge that your village is now cursed, or it could make people turn on their village chief, etc., knowing that they have this enemy tribe doing curses on them. This is a form of spiritual warfare, and we see it today. We see it in World War I and World War II, when the enemies would drop flyers on Dresden to say, resistance is futile, please surrender, and then we'll give you peace. This is a form of psychological warfare. It's demoralization. It's used to demoralize the people, i.e. in this situation it was used to demoralize the German people of Dresden. Anyway, so totem poles, or scorn poles, or shame poles is what the Native Americans called them, or neatstang, which is what the Vikings called them, are used as a form of spiritual warfare, but it also had a very metaphysical effect on the victims. It wasn't just psychological warfare. They truly believed that it could actually drain their enemies of energy. Quantum entanglement. You attach the tag lock, the fingernail, the hair, the bone, of the victim onto the pole. You include your incantations, your runes carried out. Usually the incantations be carried out by some sort of priest, and it's the intention behind the incantations. You put the intention, you put the curse into the pole or the neatstang, and then have this thing sitting inside your village, and then everybody's all obsessing over it and freaking out over it. The psychological effect was unquestionable, but I guess you could say there's no proof that it was having some sort of physical effect on the enemies. Magical propaganda. We see this again. We see it with the flyers being dropped on enemies in modern warfare. We see it in psyops carried out by the Jews with their AI. The Charlie Kirk assassination was no doubt a AI psyop. It's not that hard. You get a bunch of people, you pay them off, you pretend that they were in the audience, you use their faces in the AI video, you tell them to keep their mouths shut. Simple as that. Or maybe the guy's dead, I could be wrong on that. But 9/11 was a psychological op. The Las Vegas shooting was a psychological op. Look into it. I have the receipts to provide backup. So don't call me an anti-Semite. 9/11 was a psychological operation to sucker the Americans into war in the Middle East. It's them every time. It's always the Jews. I have the receipts to back it all up. My intention with this stream is to just have fun, play some Magic, and make people appreciate the game, because it's so much more deep than just a trading card game. And also it helps you appreciate life as well. We live in a mysterious world that is full of magic. Magic is just humans' ability to gather information before science had the ability to express it in language. That's all it is. So don't think I'm crazy. Magic is very much a real thing. We see it in psychological warfare, we see it in psyops, we see it in symbolism, we see it in companies like Craft with their logos, we see it in their names. It's in the cards. It's in the name, Magic the Gathering. That's why when we're going back to what we were talking about before with the tag locks, this is also called Magic Contagion. It's the connection of material, biological objects with the person who is the original owner of the genetic material. There is no separation between the two because they both carry the same genetic signature. It's all connected. That's why these ideas, all throughout culture, throughout every culture, they all believe this shit. Richard Garfield, the guy who made this game, he studied all the different cultures, and he was able to understand that all these different cultures, they all carry the same ideas. That's why it's in the name, Magic the Gathering. You're literally gathering the mana you get from the lands, you're gathering creatures, you're gathering cards, you're gathering players to play with you. It is all connected. What I'm saying, I hope it resonates with you and it helps you appreciate life. I hope it helps you appreciate the game. And I hope to red pill you about the truths of our world, because people do use magic. They use propaganda, they use symbolism, and they do it in a way which is not within the best interests of the population. Okay, and yes, it is mostly Jews who are behind it all. That's why they've been thrown out of 109 different nations. Well, not different nations, they've been thrown out 109 times throughout history by all sorts of different nations. And then they're the ones who are antichrist. Jesus was not a Jew, okay? He was an Old Testament Jew, which is very different to the Ashkenazi Jews of today, all right? And I hope that I bring people closer to Christ. I hope I bring people closer to God by telling the truth. And I hope I do it in a fun, cool way for Magic players. Because I know you Magic nerds tend to close your eyes when it comes to this sort of thing. But I hope to use this game as a gateway to help open your eyes to the world of propaganda, power, and corporations and secret societies. You can call them secret societies, you can call them Illuminati, call them Freemasons, Ashkenazis, Khazarians, Jews, doesn't matter. Whatever the fuck you want to call them. But there is a they. And they do very much use magic. And they have done it all throughout history. I'm going to turn the sound up a bit. And I'm going to stop yapping and focus on the game. Because I want to get my wins, I want to get my coins and my cards.